Apologize for being 45 minutes late. I really had to stay in this very important meeting, and I tried to get out of it as quick as possible. But again, I sincerely apologize for being late to this hearing. But I promise you we'll go through it fairly quickly, and a lot of these local bills are guided by DO 40. So as long as the schools comply with DO 40, then we can just approve it quickly. Congressman, sorry for being late. I really apologize for being late. Meron lang talaga akong meeting na hindi ko maiwanan. So let me direct the committee secretary to acknowledge our resource persons for today. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon. Good afternoon to our resource persons. For the public hearing on House Bill numbers 11038, taking into consideration Senate Bill number 281, 1185, 1167, 1351, 1299, 11300, 11301, and 1302, we'd like to acknowledge our resource persons. First, members of the House of Representatives. We have here physically present Representative Emigdio P. Tanjuatco III of the 2nd District of Rizal. And virtually present is Representative Manuel Wowo L. Fortes Jr. from the 2nd District of Sorsogon. From the Department of Education, we have Director Mario M. Bermudez and Director Vernice Lorraine D. Quintana. From DepEd Region 4A or Calabarzon, we have the Regional Director, Attorney Alberto T. Escobarte. From DepEd Rizal, we have the Schools Division Superintendent, Dr. Doris DJ Estelilla. From DepEd Region 5 or Bicol Region, we have the Regional Director, Dr. Gilbert T. Sadsad. From DepEd Sorsogon, we have the Schools Division Superintendent, Mr. Jose L. Doncillo, together with Mr. John Ray Perez. From DepEd Region 8 or Eastern Visayas, we have the Assistant Regional Director, Dr. Ronelo Alque Fermo. From DepEd Leyte, we have the Schools Division Superintendent, Dr. Marisa S. Magan. From the Department of Budget and Management or DBM, we have Ms. Jean Cabatana and Ms. Susan Faye Buffet. From the Department of Labor and Employment or DOLE, we have Mr. Corley Courtney Sinankil, Labor and Employment Officer. From the Bureau of Internal Revenue, we have Attorney Ron Michael Uy from the Legal and Legislative Division. From the Securities and Exchange Commission or SEC, we have Attorney Stephen Raymer de los Santos, Attorney Zara Julia Farcon, and Attorney Abigail Shekinah Tria. From the Singapore School-Cebu, we have the School President, Ms. Trixie Suarez, and last but not the least, Singapore School Clerk, Singapore School Manila, and Singapore School Manila Green Campus President and Managing Director, Ms. Ana Leilani A. Atienza. Mr. Chair, we have from the local government units, virtually present, Dr. Jeffrey Pino from the Tanay Rizal, and Mayor Cynthia Falcotelo Fortes from Barcelona, Sorsogon, LGU. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Ito ba yun? Thank you, Committee Secretary. So today we'll have we have two parts. The first part will be we will be tackling the local bills, namely House Bill number 11038, entitled Doos del Norte National High School, Hindang, Leyte, authored by Congressman Cari, and that will take into consideration Senate Bill number 2891. Authored by Senator Francis Tolentino. And then we have another bill, House Bill number 11185, entitled Tanay National Science High School, authored by Congressman Dino Tanjuatco. The other bill is House Bill number 11167, entitled Alegria Integrated School, authored by Congressman Wowo Fortes. And then House Bill number 11351, again entitled Patag Integrated School, again authored by Congressman Wowo Fortes. And the next part, after the deliberation of the local bills, we'll tackle 4 international school bills, recognition of schools as educational institutions of international character. The 4 bills are House Bill number 11299, entitled Singapore School-Cebu as an educational institution, by Representatives Romulo. House Bill number 11300, entitled Recognizing Singapore School Clark as an Educational Institution, authored by Congressman Romulo. House Bill number 11301, entitled Recognizing Singapore School Manila as an Educational Institution, authored by Congressman Roman Romulo. And lastly, House Bill number 11302, entitled Recognizing Singapore School Manila Green Campus as an Educational Institution, authored by, once again, Congressman Romulo. So those are the 8 bills that we will be tackling today. And as a matter of tradition, we will start off with the sponsor, who is here present. So we'll start off with House Bill number 1185. And we recognize Congressman Dino Tanjuatco to sponsor his bill.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon, and to all the resource persons attending today. Mr. Chair, for expediency, I'd like to manifest that I would adopt my explanatory note or the bill as my sponsorship speech for House Bill 11308. 1118, yeah. 85, yeah.
Thank you, Congressman. And we direct the committee secretary to insert into the records the sponsorship speech of Congressman Tanjuatco. With that, we'll call on our resource persons. I believe they're here also physically. So we'll call on the school superintendent, Dr. Estalilia. Yes, for her comments.
Good afternoon, Senator Win Gatchalian. We would like to inform you that our school has complied with all the prescribed requirements stipulated in DepEd Order number 40, Series 2014. Thank you.
Thank you for that,
Thank you po.
Dr. Boris. We call on the regional director, Attorney Escobarte.
With the kind permission and the Honorable Chair, I'd like to respectfully inform this committee that per DepEd regional evaluation pursuant to DepEd Order 40 on the guidelines on establishment of public schools, all the requirements have been complied with for this school, especially the availability of a school site, where the site was donated by the Tanjuatco family to DepEd. And in fact, the title of the donated school site has already been transferred in the name of the Department of Education. The DepEd is fully appreciative of the generosity and love of the family of the Tanjuatco for the young learners of Rizal, particularly Tanay. With this compliance with the requirements, DepEd Region 4A respectfully endorses and recommends the approval of this legislative measure that will consequently widen the access to basic education in Tanay, Rizal, and its catchment areas in the province of Rizal.
Thank you, Attorney Escobarte. Baka in the future, pwede na ipangalan to Tanjuatco National Science High School in Tanay. In the future, buhay pa si Congressman, wag niyo naman ipangalan ngayon. In the future na. And just basic question, this school is a brand new school, no?
Yes, Mr.
Will be a
Chair.
brand new school. Will be a
Yes,
brand new
Mr.
school.
Chair.
And how big is the property that was donated by the Tanjuatco
Almost
family?
1/2 hectare.
1/2 hectare?
Almost 1/2.
5,000 square meters. 5,000 square meters.
2,300 square meters.
2,000
380 square meters po.
2,300.
The school site is composed of two parcels of land. One is 2,300
308.
square meters, and the other one is
340.
1,340 square meters.
So 2,380 and
340.
1,340 square
40.
meters.
So both parcels were donated by the
The
family
Tanjuatco
of
family.
Congressman Tanjuatco. So this is a total of almost 5,000, more or less.
Yes.
No, a little bit less, no, a little bit, almost. Alam mo, sa Valenzuela, pag may mag-donate sa'yo ng 50 square meters, tuwang-tuwa ka na sa amin. Oo. Dahil punong-puno sa Valenzuela, land is really so scarce. In fact, here in Metro Manila in general, it's very difficult to get land. Nobody will even think of donating land. No? But in Tanay, through the efforts of Congressman Tanjuatco, the students there are very privileged and blessed that they have a family that is putting education first, and and the family knows that education is very important to the growth and the future of the municipality of Tanay. So we're very blessed to have public servants like Congressman Tanjuatco. Hindi ko siya sinasabi dahil nandyan sa harap ko, but I'm just saying this as part of my experience. And it's very difficult. Ba alam ng DepEd yan, here in Metro Manila, ang hirap bumili ng lupa. Ang hirap. That's why even though you will not use the property now, but you will probably use it every 10 years, 20 years down the road, at least the property is already there. No. Congressman, any comments?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Just to put things into proper perspective, the property is actually owned by my uncle. Their branch, also at Tanjuatco, who's presently the mayor of Tanay. So same family name, same family. But just to make it clear, baka sabihin niya inaagawan ko siya ng pangalan.
But I'm sure this is through your efforts, no? And of course, now that we have the property is the first step. The second step is to put buildings and operationalize that property. And I'm sure Congressman Tanjuatco will make sure that buildings will be erected in that facility. I also understand that wala pala, no? But the representatives of Mayor Tanjuatco is here, Dr. Jeffrey Pino. Dito ba siya? Virtually, okay. Okay. Does he have any comments, si Mr. Pino?
Oh, yeah. Unmute. Okay na. Audio.
Any comments po, Dr. Pino? Go ahead. Medyo malabo lang, but go ahead.
Senator, no comment. Pinapakaroon ko yung ating mas salamat ko lang ang at
Dr. Pino, medyo malabo yung dating nyo. Can I request for you to fix your Zoom or your microphone? We couldn't hear you clearly here.
Hello po.
Yan. Okay na. Go ahead.
Wala po si Sir Pino po, si Dr. Pino, bali, I'm Ronald Catolo sa programa sa environment. Ako namin yung pasasalamat at nabigyan po ng pagkakataon na patakan po yung pagkakaraig po ng National Science Institute.
Thank you for that. I understand also that the principal is here, Dr. Edith de los Santos. Ma'am, any comments po?
Good afternoon, Senator Win. Good afternoon, everyone. We would like to say thank you very much for having this team on this particular day. When hindi tulong ang maibibigay sa mga bata. Good afternoon.
All right, thank you, ma'am. And lastly, we call on DepEd Central, represented by Director Bermudez, for his comments.
Good afternoon, everyone. After the manifestations made by school principal and the LGU Tanay, as well as the manifestations of SDO Superintendent Istalilia and RD Scobarty, together with the manifestation of Congressman Tanjuatco, the Department of Education interposes no objection to the proposed bill HBN 11185 for the establishment of Tanay National Science High School.
Thank you, Director Bermudez. And lastly, we also have a representative from DBM. Any comments?
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, and to the members of this committee. I am Gian Lara Cabatanya from Department of Budget and Management, Budget Information Legislative Service. Allow us to provide this following comment for House Bill number 11185. In particular, based on Republic Act number 9155, the DepEd Regional Director shall have the authority, accountability, and responsibility of approving the establishment of public or private elementary and high school. In this regard, we defer to the position of the Department of Education, as they are in the best position to evaluate and determine the compliance of the subject school in terms of their qualification, as well as the requirements set under Department Order number 40, series of 2014. As to the funding requirement po, once this bill is enacted into law, the same shall be included in the budget proposal of the DepEd, subject to the budgeting policies, rules, regulation, and the authorization of Congress. That's all for our comment, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Are there any more comments from the body on House Bill number 11185? Hearing none, we approve House Bill number 11185 and we'll submit this to plenary for further discussion and approval.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, on behalf of the people from Tanay, we'd like to thank the chairman for calendaring this measure. Even though we're on break, we're able to tackle it, as well as appreciation to the members of the DepEd family and other government agencies present today. It's a big step for the young learners of the people from Tanay and other residents of the province of Rizal. So, Mr. Chair, thank you very much.
Thank you, Congressman. And we'll try to get this approved before we end the 19th Congress. We have 6 session days left. So that's why we decided to hear this in advance so that we can get the signatures, sponsor it on the first day. Hopefully no questions will be asked, so we can close it and approve it on the first week. So we'll move as fast as we can to get this approved on this during this 19th Congress. All right. So with that, we now go to House Bill number 11167, and I believe that Congressman Wawa Fortes is here with us virtually. So we recognize Congressman Fortes for his opening statement.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair. Thank you very much. Mr. Chair, in the interest of time and for purposes of expediency, I move that the explanatory note embodied in my proposed House Bill number 11167 be considered and taken as my sponsorship speech for the passage of said measure before this bicameral committee. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Congressman Fortes, and we direct the committee secretary to insert into the records the sponsorship speech of Congressman Fortes. We now go to the superintendent of DepEd, superintendent of DepEd Sorsogon. So we recognize Mr. Jose Doncilio.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and everyone. On the part of DepEd Sorsogon Province, which I now represent, may I respectfully inform this committee that all requirements related to the proposed conversion of Alegria Integrated School and Patag Integrated School, all in the 2nd Congressional District of the province of Sorsogon, were already complied. These schools are located in the 2nd Congressional Districts represented by the good Congressman, Attorney Wawa Fortes. In fact, these schools were already granted by the Regional Director, Gilbert Sadsad, permit to open junior high school, and we are now on its early operational stage, given the support of the local government unit headed by Mayor Cynthia Fortes. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Dr. Doncilio. We recognize Regional Director Gilbert Sadsad.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. On the part of the Regional Office of DepEd Region 5, we recommend the approval of this House Bill number 1167, considering that the school has already complied all the requirements prescribed under or pursuant to DO number 40 series of 2014 and was granted government permit last August 31, 2022.
Okay, thank you, RD. I just have one question, either to RD Sadsad or to the superintendent, Mr. Doncilio. I saw the report of MGB, Mines and Geoscience Bureau, that the school is not susceptible to landslide, but having moderate susceptibility to floods. No? Have we undertaken any flood mitigating measures in that area so that we will address the moderate flooding susceptibility?
Yes, Mr. Chair. In the past weeks and months when there was heavy rains, we had that experience. And to respond to that problem, the local government unit has expressed its readiness to mitigate flooding in that area.
That's very good, and I'm good to hear that the school and the region's working very closely with the LGUs. The LGUs really play a very important role, a big role, in fact, no, in addressing local problems and local issues, as well as infrastructure projects. No? So I'm very happy to hear that the LGU in your area is very active and very attuned to the problems of your school. With that, I'll segue to recognizing Mayor Fal Falcotec. She's still here. I think wala na yata siya. I think she logged out already.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Mr. Chair. Yeah. Mayor Falcotello just messaged me that she was in a meeting and was hoping to come back, but I think she won't be able to come back. But Mayor Falcotello is the better half of this representation, and the LGU commits to support whatever undertaking is needed insofar as flood mitigation is concerned, especially based on the findings of the Mines and Bureau Sciences, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Congressman, and thank you for committing in behalf of the LGU, knowing that she is your best half, no? Better and best half. No? So maraming salamat for taking the cudgels. And
Thank you.
thank you. And lastly, let me recognize Director Bermudez of DepEd Central.
With DepEd's mandate of bringing schools closer to the doorsteps of our learners, the Department of Education, having heard the manifestations of Congressman Fortes and RD Sadsad, as well as SDO Sorsogon Doncilio, the office hereby interposes no objection to the conversion of the schools, the Alegria Integrated School and the Patag Integrated School, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Thank you for that. And lastly, we recognize the department, DBM, represented by
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair. For
Ms. Cabatana.
Yes, Mr. Chair. For House Bill number 11167 and House Bill number 11135, which seeks to convert the following schools, once the said schools are converted, the funding for the purpose shall be included as well in the budget proposal of DepEd for its operationalization and evaluated based on budgeting policies, parameters, and the authorization of Congress. That's all for our comment, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Any more comments on House Bill number 11167? Hearing none, we approve House Bill number 11167 and we'll submit this measure to plenary for further deliberations. Maraming salamat po. So we go to House Bill number 11351. I believe okay. Okay. And we recognize once again Congressman Fortes for his sponsorship speech.
Thank you again, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon again to all the members of the committee and the resource persons. Mr. Chair, allow me to log in the same manifestation as the previous House Bill number 11167 for House Bill number 11351, Patag Integrated School. In the interest of time and expediency, may I be allowed to have my explanatory note as my sponsorship speech for the passage of this proposed legislation before this committee. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Congressman Fortes. Again, we direct the committee secretary to insert into the records the sponsorship speech of Congressman Fortes. Let me call on Mr. Doncilio of DepEd Sorsogon.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair. On the part of DepEd, Sorsogon Province, may I also inform this committee that all the requirements related to the proposed conversion of Patag Integrated School in Irosin, Sorsogon, were already complied. In fact, the same school has already opened grades 7, 8, and 9, and 10 based from the permit granted by the regional office issued by the Regional Director Gilbert Sadsad. Thank you.
Thank you for that. And we call on the Regional Director, Dr. Gilbert Sadsad.
Again, thank you very much, Mr. Chair. On the part of the regional office, DepEd Region 5, the Patag Integrated School was given or granted government permit to operate last February 11, 2019, so almost 6 years of operation as an integrated school, considering that they have full compliance of the requirements prescribed pursuant to DO number 40 series of 2014. So we recommend for approval of this House Bill number 11351. Thank you.
Thank you for those comments. We recognize Director Bermudez of DepEd Central.
With the manifestation of RD Sadsad of the regional office having its delegated authority to undertake and conduct comprehensive evaluation, the Department of Education hereby interposes no objection to the conversion of the school to Patag Integrated School, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Thank you. And lastly, we call on Miss Cabatana of the DBM.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair. For this school, similar with the previous one, once the school is converted, the same shall be included in the budget proposal of the DepEd for its operationalization, and the budget of the said school would be subject to budgeting policies, rules, and regulation, and the authorization of Congress. That's all for our comment.
Thank you. Thank you for that. And any more comments? Hearing none. We approve House Bill number 11351 and submit it to plenary for further deliberations.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Congressman Fortes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On behalf of the Municipality of Barcelona and the Municipality of Irosin, where the two integrated schools are located, we would like to express our gratitude to the committee and to the DepEd for supporting the measure. Again, thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, and regards to the people of Sorsogon. Malapit po sa amin ang puso ng mga taga-Sorsogon dahil ang Senate President namin taga-Sorsogon. No, so
Thank you very much.
Thank you po. Now we go to House Bill number 11038 to be sponsored by this bill is authored by Congressman Cari, but to be sponsored today by Congressman Dino Tanjuatco.
Mr. Chair, on behalf of Congressman Cari, a manifestation is made that his explanatory note on House Bill 11038 be adopted as his sponsorship speech.
Thank you, and let me direct the committee secretary to insert into the records the said sponsorship speech. Thank you for that, Congressman. We recognize the school superintendent, Dr. Magan, who's physically present.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair. With the mandate of the Department of Education to make education not only available but accessible to all, and with the proposal of the barangay officials, the community people, and strongly supported by the municipality mayor and all the officials of Hindang municipality and sponsored by Cari, the division office immediately facilitated the compliance of the requirements under DepEd Order 40 Series 2014, and as of now, we are on our initial operation. We started last school year offering grade 7 because we already have the permit coming from the regional office, and it has already a school ID.
Thank you. And it complied with the requirements of DO 40? Okay. Can you, ma'am, respond to the mic so we can capture
Yes, we
that?
already complied all the necessary requirements, all the necessary documents now submitted already to the regional office.
Thank you. Thank you for that. And we recognize Dr. Firmo of the regional office, Region 8.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair. On behalf of our Regional Director, Director Evelyn R. Fitalbero, DepEd Region 8 is highly recommending for the approval of House Bill 11038. Hindang Duos del Norte National High School is located in Duos Elementary School with 17,400 square meters. So 9,000 of that land will be used by the Duos del Norte National High School. So the school was able to comply all the requirements, and in fact, we have already issued the permit to operate last April 12, 2024, and the regional office has also issued the school ID for this high school.
Thank you very much, RD. Before I call on DepEd Central, I believe that Mayor Cabal of the municipality of Hindang, Leyte, is here with us virtually. So we recognize Mayor Betty Cabal for her comments.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair.
Afternoon po.
I'm Mayor Betty Cabal of Hindang, Leyte po. We hope and pray that an act establishing our Dos del Norte High School will be approved po. Thank you po.
Thank you, Mayor. And how many students are already going into this school?
42 po. 42.
42 students.
Po, 42. Grade 7. Grade 7.
Okay.
Grade 7 po. Grade 7.
42 grade 7 students. All right.
Opo.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. Grade 7 students. All right.
Opo.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor Betty. And lastly, we call on Director Bermudez of DepEd Central.
Vouch by the statements of LGU of Leyte, as well as ARD Firmo, and the statement of SDO Schools Division Superintendent Magan. The Department of Education interposes no objection to the establishment of Duos del Norte National High School, Mr. Chair.
Maraming salamat, Director. We call on Ms. Jean Cabatana of the DBM.
On the part of the funding requirement of the said school, once this bill is enacted, the same shall be included in the budget proposal of the DepEd po, and then the subsequent approval and authorization of Congress. That's all po. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you to DBM. Any more comments? Hearing none. So we approve House Bill number 11038 and will submit it to plenary for further discussions. So do we have any more local bills? So that's it for our local bills. And those who are participants of the local bills are excused. You can stay and listen to the Singapore school if you are interested, but you are excused. Ayaw yata nila. Pakinggan. No, but thank you very much for coming all the way from Leyte, from Sorsogon, from Tanay. Maraming salamat for spending your time here in the Senate and demonstrating your commitment to education. Your presence is really a testament that you're committed to delivering quality education all around our country. And we're really honored that your physical presence, with your physical presence here in the Senate. And also to Congressman Tanjuatco, maraming salamat. Baka gusto niyo pa mag-donate ng lupa, pwede pa mag-donate ng lupa. Baka sa Singapore School, pwede rin. Sa Tanay, pwede. But thank you, Congressman. And to Congressman Fortes, to Mayor Cabal, to our friends in Leyte, I can see all of you there in LGU Leyte. Maraming salamat for spending time with us this afternoon. And you have our support in delivering quality education in your locality. So feel free to reach out to us if you have other more requirements, projects, programs, and we're more than happy to be your partners in education. So maraming salamat po.
Thank you, Senator Lin.
Four House bills related to the Singapore schools. I'll call them Singapore schools for brevity. And will actually, before this type of bills are considered national in nature, when we passed the CCF International School, no, it was considered national. but I understand that it's now considered a local bill because it emanated from the House. No? So with that change, we'll request Congressman Dino to sponsor the 4 bills that was transmitted to the Senate.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On behalf of the principal sponsor, Congressman Romulo, manifestation, an omnibus manifestation is made that the explanatory notes for House Bills 11299, 11300, 11301, and 11302 all be adopted as the sponsorship speeches of Congressman Romulo for said bills.
Thank you for that, Congressman Tanjuatco. And let me direct the committee secretary to insert into the records the sponsorship speech of Congressman Roman Romulo through Congressman Tanjuatco. Thank you for that. So we'll go to the deliberation of these 4 Singapore schools, and we'll do it all at the same time because the bills are pretty much the same. No? So the only difference is the location. No? So we'll tackle all the bills all at the same time, and I requested Ms. Atienza to make a presentation on what Singapore school is about, give us some salient features, some best practices, and some backgrounder on the Singapore schools.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much, Honorable Chair, for having us here today. To the members, officers of DepEd, SEC, and BIR, thank you. Allow me to introduce to you our school, Singapore School Manila, which was established 2005, Singapore School-Cebu 2010, and Singapore School Clark and the Green Campus in 2018. Next slide, please. Our schools. Yeah, can we have the next slide, please? Next one, please. There you go. Okay. The next slide. Okay, we are recognized by the Department of Education, and we are also accredited by 2 of the top international qualifications, International Baccalaureate and the Cambridge International Education. Our graduates are holders of the IB diploma program and the A-level. Next slide, please. With your permission, I'd like to show a short video about our school, our mission, vision, and how we do things in all our schools. Can we have the next slide, please?
Can we go to the next slide, Comsec?
Okay.
Or show the video. I think there's a video. Oh, there.
Founded in 2005, Singapore School Manila offers a unique international curriculum that prepares students for the future. SSM adapts the Singapore curriculum for preschool, primary, and lower secondary levels, the Cambridge International General Certificate of Secondary Education, or IGCSE for higher secondary, and the International Baccalaureate Diploma Program, or IBDP, for pre-university. Our dedicated teachers bring a wealth of knowledge and experience to our students, fostering critical thinking, creativity, and teamwork. We follow a unique teaching model that allows all types of learners to fully understand concepts that can be applied in real life. We envision ourselves to be known for providing a high standard of quality education, placing equal emphasis on all aspects of human development. Our goal is to develop global citizens who are creative, inquirers, thinkers, open-minded, knowledgeable, communicators, risk-takers, principled, caring, balanced, reflective, responsible, resilient, and decisive, living and promoting in others a positive outlook in life. We, the SSM community, dedicate ourselves to achieve our vision by striving for academic excellence using modern teaching strategies, disposing of the pressures and trauma associated with conventional teaching methods, training our students to do higher thinking in all subjects, preparing them for a rapidly changing world, encouraging environmental and social awareness, thus empowering our students to take an active role as agents of positive change in the world, developing the value of positivism through our educational system, enabling our students to love learning and to cope well with the challenges of life. Beyond academics, we offer a vibrant extracurricular program, whether it is in sports, music, or arts. Our students are encouraged to explore their passions and build lifelong skills. Cultural diversity is at the heart of our community. Our student body is made up of individuals from various nationalities, promoting an environment of inclusivity, respect, and collaboration. Graduates of Singapore School Manila leave not just with academic achievements, but also as well-rounded individuals ready to take on the challenges of the world.
We love SSM! We love SSM! We love SSM! We love SSM!
All four campuses follow the same curriculum, same teaching model, same vision, and same mission. Okay, this is the number of students that we have right now and the demographics. So we still have more Filipinos than international students. That's for Singapore School Manila. For our teaching and non-teaching, we employ Filipinos except for foreign languages. We offer Mandarin in our schools, and so our foreign teachers come in to teach Mandarin. Can we go to the next slide, please? This is for Cebu, our students and our staff. And the next slide, please, for Singapore School Clark. And the last one is Singapore School Manila Green Campus. Next one, please. Okay, we're here for HB numbers 11299, 300, 301, and 302. Acts recognizing our schools as educational institutions of international character, specifically because we would like to comply to, next slide please, Department of Education Order number 88, 2010, the Manual of, sorry about that misspelled word, Regulations for Private Schools and Basic Education, specifically sections 46 and 47, which state that only schools catering to foreign diplomatic personnel, their dependents, and other temporary foreign students shall be allowed to use the word foreign, international, or the name of a foreign country as part of the school's name. Furthermore, the regulations specify that a foreign or international school may only be established through legislation. So with that, next slide please, our prayer is for us to get the support of the Senate. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Atienza. Actually, I have some basic questions. Well, first of all, let me thank the House of Representatives for conducting 4 hearings in fact, and they did a wonderful job in really scrutinizing the proposed measures as well as issues surrounding the proposed measures. So they did the heavy lifting, so to speak, so that when it reaches the Senate, we will just do validations and ask basic questions, no? And also some follow-up questions. So and in those House hearings, the management of the school was given ample time to correct whatever they need to correct, and we'll expound on that later on, so that we'll record into the proceedings that all deficiencies were in fact corrected already. No? So we'll discuss that later on. But I have some basic questions to Ms. Atienza and also to Ms. Suarez of Singapore School-Cebu. So I saw that you have 148 students in Manila, 146 students in Cebu, 39 in Clark, 39 in Cavite.
Those
What
are
is that?
teaching and non-teaching staff.
These are teaching and non-teaching staff. In terms of students, how many students are there in all 4 schools?
Okay, we have per school, we have 575 in Manila, 484 in Cebu,
575
75 in Manila as of this year.
Yeah.
And then 484 in Cebu, 109 in the Green Campus, and 128, if I'm not mistaken, hold on, 28 in Clark. Total is 1,296.
1,296.
296.
And then the ones you mentioned earlier are your teaching staff, no? Teaching and non-teaching staff.
That's
already.
right, that's right.
Okay. And then right now, I understand that it's an operating school, but it's considered a, what do you call that? A local school? Do you call that a local school? Is that the right terminology?
Local
DepEd?
private?
What do you call? What's the right
just
terminology?
a private school, yeah.
Just a private
Private
school.
school.
Okay, just a private school. And you're applying for legislative recognition as educational institution of international character. And what's the rationale for this application?
We would like to comply with Department Order number 88, series of 2010, that states that only through legislation can we be allowed to continue using our name Singapore
Okay.
School.
Okay, well, I'll go to that later on with DepEd. Okay, well, I'll go to that later on with DepEd. Yep. And but outside of that requirement, what are the outside of that particular requirement, what makes it an international school? Right now, it's a private school, but obviously you want to convert through this measure. It will be converted to an educational institution of international character. So what are the characteristics that you will employ or you have employed to make it a school of international character?
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair. May I answer that?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, so our curriculum in the upper secondary and pre-university covers the Cambridge International General Certificate of Secondary Education. And then for the pre-university level, we do the IB Diploma program. But on top of that, because we're a DepEd school, we make sure that we also comply with the requirements of the Department of Education for those levels. So the fact that we sit for these internationally credited qualifications really adds or certifies, or how do you say it, validates that we do cover an international education. And then for primary school, same thing. We make use of the Singapore curriculum, but also matching that with the Department of Education's requirements for those levels.
And Congressman Tanjuatco is still here. Feel free, Congressman, if you wanna ask any questions or you wanna clarify any questions. If you have clarificatory questions, feel free to just interject. And if you have any questions to ask, just. So what you're saying right now is the schools are Let me just. They have those certifications, no? Yung Cambridge. Hold on, let me just. Saan yung Cambridge? Ano? Cambridge? Nasaan yung Cambridge? Anong PowerPoint? Anong PowerPoint? Assessment International Education. And then the other one is the IB, International Baccalaureate accreditation. And these two are now being implemented in your
Yes, sir.
schools.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
And but the schools are not considered international in character. So my point there is, since it's now being implemented, what is the added value to change it into an school of international character? Because it's being implemented right now. There's no problem in implementing that. So what is the added value, or what is the logic of converting it into an international school of international character?
It adds validity because, like, when parents or potential families want to enter our school, they do ask whether we're an official international school and would ask whether we have a legislature recognizing us as such. So that is actually a basis also of comparison, that sometimes parents feel like, okay, when you say you're international school, can we see the Republic Act of other international schools? So we are doing this to validate, to seek validation for that, Mr. Chair.
And it's true, no? I was actually talking to my staff. I do see a lot of international schools with international brands, no? And I know for a fact that they don't have any legislative recognition, no? So, and that's something that the EPED should look at, because the word international is used quite loosely in our country. And let's admit it, it's being used for marketing purposes, no? Because parents, for example, in Valenzuela, I know we have a school there with an international word in their brand, and people will think that it's an international school, no, because it has that international name. Not all parents know that you need a legislative recognition, no, to be an international school, but it's a marketing ploy that some schools are using, and some parents are attracted to it, and of course, additionally, they can charge higher rates, no, higher tuition fees. No, so DepEd should take a look at that, and I think it's about time to look at that policy, because it's unfair for those schools like Singapore School, CCF, British School, Manila, ISM, who come here to Congress, both the lower house and the upper house, to seek for legislative recognition. No? And legislative recognition is very difficult. Para kang dumadaan sa butas ng karayom. No? You have to talk to the House of Representatives, then you have to talk to the senators here, in order to get that formal recognition. It's that formality that is important. No? But in some schools nga, they don't pass through their legislative mill, but yet they use the word international. And I commend the Singapore School for recognizing that difference, no, so that DepEd can respond accordingly. And I'm quite pleasantly surprised that parents look for that legislative recognition. Important. It's also important for them to know the difference, no, the difference, and also the proper way of using that international brand name. My staff just gave me schools that went through well, not all, no. For example, CCF, Cebu International School, Brent has a PD. Brent has a PD, and Asian Institute of Management has a PD, no. But ilan ang international school? But I know we have the list of international schools. Akin na yung list. Anyways, I'll have that list later on. We have identified there are 94 schools nationwide that uses the word international. No, for example, in Region 1, Oak Ridge International School of Young Leaders. I'll just go randomly. Like for example, in Angeles City, there's Westfields International School. Now, I'll ask DepEd about this. No, how what are the requirements to use international, the word international? Because for marketing purposes, talagang syempre, kung yung mga magulang nag-aaral yung anak niya sa international school, it's bragging rights. And again, they can charge higher rates. But schools like the Singapore schools, they go through the legislative mill, which is very complex. No? Yeah, Congressman, go ahead.
Mr. Chair, and it can also be misleading. The expectation of the parents, because their students or their children are enrolled in an international school, there may be some expectations regarding the method of teaching, the curriculum, which can be very unfair also to the public. So I think you're right, Mr. Chair. I think the DepEd has to be more proactive or come up with a more stringent and enforcement of the use of international.
Thank you for that, Congressman Dino. In the case of Singapore school, it uses the brand Singapore, no? And what is the unique feature, and why did Singapore school use the word or use the brand Singapore in their schools?
Okay. Technically, no, all our schools follow the Singapore curriculum from preschool to grade 8. Now we have to shift to an international curriculum in grade 9, 10, 11, and 12, specifically because we cannot take the external examinations that they give within Singapore because we're not inside Singapore. And that's the reason why we decided to become a Cambridge school, because the Singapore curriculum originally follows the Cambridge curriculum, and then they changed it and made it local depending on the needs and the context. No. For our grade 12, we needed an international qualification again, which is the A-level or the IB diploma. So when our students graduate, they have a diploma, a certificate stating that they graduated with an A-level or the IB diploma, which is the fast pass to get to the best universities in the world.
Thank you for that. And I'll ask the SEC and the DFA later on the name or the word Singapore. But in your case, Mr. Tianza, the reason why you use the brand Singapore is because of the Singaporean curriculum, and that's being implemented right now. Okay. Was there any objection from the Singapore government, from the Singapore embassy? Just to put it on record, no, so we can just record it.
Actually, we received letters from the Ministry of Education in Singapore that if we have any citizens of theirs studying in our school, that if ever they want to move back to Singapore, we should endorse them to them. So it's been actually very welcoming on their end. Every year we have visitors to exchange best practices with from the National Institute of Education in Singapore. So I think this past year, we've hosted, at least for Cebu, 3 rounds already of best practices with them. So it's a very, we would like to think that they have no objection, Mr. Chair.
Did you receive any written objection or any written?
From our end, no, but actually a written letter saying like, dear Singapore School-Cebu, like if you have any of our citizens
Okay.
studying, because similarly in Indonesia they also use Singapore School. In Vietnam there is also in Shanghai, Thailand there's a couple. So there has been no objection from the government, but they are very clear that only their campus in Hong Kong is run by the Ministry of Education in Singapore.
And any learner who's studying in Singapore School Manila can easily transfer, or for example, if a student will transfer to Singapore and study in their schools, is the curriculum the same, and can they easily transfer to Singapore
Yes,
public school?
there's no official statement on that, but yes, because even the books that we use are books that are stamped by the Ministry of Education. The Singapore government is very generous, no? They like it that people are learning the Singapore math and the Singapore curriculum. But they do not accredit any specific Singapore school. There are, if I'm not mistaken, 49 different Singapore schools all over Asia, in Asia, no? But none, except for Hong Kong, is directly under the Ministry of Education.
Go ahead, Congressman.
Just one clarification, because I've been hearing about this Singapore math, and it's supposed to be a advanced. I'm not sure if it's advanced or it makes the student more I don't know, just to think more actively. Is that Singapore math is part of the Singapore curriculum, so it comes hand in hand.
That's what makes it special, actually, because there's Singapore, especially the Singapore math, allows the children to think. So they need to be able to draw the problem, not just understand the problem, but draw the problem.
And the Singapore curriculum and Singapore math, is that like is it a patented way of teaching? It's not. It's a it is. I mean, can other people imitate that kind of way of teaching?
Mr. Chair, may I answer? Actually, Singapore math is one of the, I think, biggest export of Singapore. American schools use it as well. They still teach the basic arithmetic, but it's the way they teach that is different. They have what you call the model method when you study percentages and fractions that makes it easier. So it's not patented, but I think they benefit because of the textbooks that all over the world order from them. So there are also local schools here in the Philippines that actually apply Singapore maths, and already publishers have already contextualized it to Philippine setting, in the sense like in the terms of money, they use Philippine peso already in those books.
A follow-up to what the chair said. Is there a built-in advantage for students who come from SSM compared to other students who come from the other universities or other schools here?
Yes, being a Cambridge school and an IB school at the same time, no, allows our children. Okay, technically, when they apply to different universities all over the world, they're not tested anymore. Our students take an external examinations at the end of 2 years, and that's what they use, the score, to get to the best universities. No, with that, they're given scholarship and automatic admission.
And most of these students would rather go universities abroad or here?
Mix.
So let's say I'm a graduate from SSM and I want to apply, let's say, Tanay or Rizal.
Oh, we have automatic admission.
automatic
Our students are not taking the test anymore.
They don't take the ASET or the ELSA?
Can I clarify, Mr. Chair? They have the option to use their IB diploma if they make a certain grade, but if they don't feel their IB mark is good enough, then they sit for the ASET or the DSAT. 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 Sorry, LaSalle. I'm Atenista. What is it again? LaSalle. I'm so sorry.
Thank you, Congressman. I'll ask DepEd about the use of the name because in DO 88, it's very specific. No, only schools established for foreign diplomatic personnel and their dependents, and for other temporary residents shall be temporary residents. And other temporary residents shall be allowed by DepEd to use as part of the name of the school the word foreign or international or the name of the foreign country. No? So this is under DO 88. No? So I'll ask that later on. Is SSM qualified under DO 88 to use that name? I think that's also one of the reasons why they are applying here to be to correct that use of name. But just note that I'll go to that question later on, and I'll go to I'll continue my questions with Ms. Atienza or Ms. Suarez. You mentioned it uses Singaporean curriculum, and how is it blended with our local curriculum? Because obviously you have how many? I saw that you have foreign students also. What's the ratio of foreign to local students?
More or less
Manila.
35-65%.
35 foreign, 65 local. This is system-wide.
Yes.
This is system-wide. On the average lang naman. So, because of 65% Pinoy, Filipino students, how is the curriculum blended with the local curriculum?
Okay, we make sure that our students still learn Filipino. They still, we still teach them history and all that. So they still know Jose Rizal, social studies and all. So we bring in anything that's outside the Singapore curriculum that is required by the Department of Education, we blend it in. So like, for example, social studies, our students use the Singapore books and the Philippine books, the local social studies books.
About the teachers, are the teachers trained with Singaporean curriculum? Because what's the ratio of your foreign to local teachers?
Okay, most of our teachers are still local. No, we only bring in native speakers. Like all our students learn Chinese, so we bring in Chinese teachers to teach Mandarin to make sure that they learn the right notes. Now we bring in specialists also from Singapore to train our math teachers because it's the math that's totally different.
Yeah.
And the way we do math. Other than that, there are a lot of concepts that are not taught in the Philippine curriculum. Like, for example, is tessellation. Tessellation, which started in P6, primary 6 in 2006, is already now in grade 4. And tessellation means, given an area, let's say your wall at home, and you want to cover it with tiles or whatever, how many tiles? Do you need to cover a wall? Concepts like that. They have a lot of concepts that are not in our local curriculum.
How about our teachers? Are they trained?
Oh, yes. We bring in a specialist from Singapore every year to make sure that we are updated because the curriculum of Singapore, they update it from time to time. Every 2-3 years, you'll see updates and it becomes more and more challenging in terms of concepts. But in terms of teaching, we follow the teaching model that they actually follow also that allows all types of learners to learn. We bring in specialists from Singapore to train our teachers.
And then you mentioned earlier that these teachers are, I think one of the unique features of this Singaporean curriculum is what Congressman Tanjuatco mentioned, is the Singaporean math. So our Filipino teachers are also trained to teach Singaporean math.
We have the best teachers. I'm sorry, I'm biased, but we do have the best teachers.
How are they trained? Do they go to Singapore? You send trainers? How is it?
Okay, we bring in a specialist from Singapore every year to make sure that the new teachers are trained on how to do the Singapore math.
Are they accredited? Is there a certification? How do we know that the teachers are indeed trained in Singaporean math or Singapore math?
Well, from our end, we can only brag about our graduates. They go to the best universities after Singapore School Manila or Singapore School-Cebu or the Green Campus and Clark.
May I add, Mr. Chair, that we just have the best teachers. And it's almost like riding the bike. Once you have the mindset on the teaching approach, our teachers can do even more. So when we do best practice exchange with the Singapore educators, we're very proud to say that they are likewise impressed how far our teachers have gone. And I think one of the pluses that we can do here compared to how they do it in Singapore is we have a small teacher to student ratio. So it's been a wonderful exchange, and we're just very proud of our homegrown local teachers. They're doing a fantastic job. So we just hope we don't lose them. So I hope something can be done about that.
I'd like to add, no, as of today, actually, the Filipino teachers are hired all over the world, even in America right now. They're hiring a lot of our teachers because we have the best teachers in the world.
All right. And let me move to our resource persons so that we can also hear their comments. We'll start off with the Department of Foreign Affairs, represented by Mr. Nankil. Any comments? And DFA wala. Okay. Dole wala.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, and to this honorable committee. May I manifest the position paper of the department? May we respectfully submit the following specific comments. In Section 3F, we support the inclusion of the condition that the school shall prioritize hiring locally qualified teaching and management personnel in employing its own teaching and management personnel selected either locally or abroad. This condition is consistent with the principle that Filipino nationals shall be given preference in employment opportunities and practice of profession as enshrined in Section 12, Article 12 of the 1987 Constitution. Moreover, the following data shows that there is growing number of educational graduates and job applications for teachers in the country. From January to November 2024, the PESO PACE or Public Employment Service Office PACE or Employment Information System recorded or registered 55,339 teaching professional applicants. The data also shows that there are over 48,392 teaching professional applicants who are seeking employment in the country. The following data shows that education graduates continuously grow, and this constant growth entails an increase in job applications for teaching professionals. This is supported by the number of teaching professionals seeking employment in the country. As like I said, the adoption of this provision will aid in addressing unemployment and underemployment of educational professionals in the country. Further, to facilitate the employment, under Section 3F, may we propose the insertion of a provision of the school to coordinate with the appropriate Public Employment Service Office or PESO to establish a job placement office in accordance with the RA 8759 as amended by RA 10691 or Public Employment Service Office Act as follows. F, employ its own teaching and management personnel to facilitate the employment of the school's personnel. The latter shall coordinate with the appropriate Public Employment Service Office that has jurisdiction over the school under the Public Employment Service Act of 1999, and the school may also establish a job placement office. Further, in the same section, may we kindly note that generally, foreign nationals who intend to engage in gainful employment in the Philippines shall apply for an Alien Employment Permit or the AEP with the Department of Labor and Employment, subject to the exemptions provided by the Labor Code of the Philippines as amended, and also under the new Department Order number 248 series of 2025 or the new rules and regulations on the employment of foreign nationals in the Philippines. Lastly, may we kindly note that the following data on the number of teacher education students, number of teacher education graduates, and number of teacher personnel working registered in the PESO PACE from January to November 2024 are as follows. For a number of teacher education students, for male, there are 12,946 male. Now, for a female, 41,792 with a total of 54,738 teacher education students. For teacher education graduates, there are 8,313 for males, while for female, 27,671 with a total of 35,984. And lastly, number of teacher personnel working for those males, 324. For the female, 1,542 with a total of 1,866. That's all, Mr. Chair.
Thank you for that, Mr. Nankil of the DOLE. We call on the BIR, Attorney Uy.
Your Honor, good afternoon, Your Honor. After our initial investigation, Your Honor, it appears that the Singapore schools have no are compliant with their tax liabilities and have no pending audit as of now, Your Honor. Therefore, the Bureau interjects no objection on the matter, Your Honor.
Thank you. Thank you for that. We call on the SEC, represented by Attorney De Los Santos.
Yes, good afternoon, Mr. Chair, Attorney Tria, from the SEC. The Commission has no objections or comments on the bills, and we would also like to manifest that per the monitoring sheet and certificate of no derogatory information issued by our company registration and monitoring department dated February 21, 2025, there are no penalties against these four corporations, and there are no pending cases or investigations filed against these corporations, Mr. Chair.
Thank you for that very clear manifestation, because I read the summary of the proceedings in the House, and one of the reasons why the House took 4 hearings is because of the manifestation from the SEC. No, I believe that initially, and I thank the SEC for doing its job. No? Yan ang trabaho talaga ng SEC, to look for deficiencies, look for violations in the Constitution. Compliance is an essential responsibility of the SEC. And let me just put on record that before, the SEC found possible violations of the Constitution in regards to foreign directors or foreigners sitting as directors. It also found violation in filing of financial statements and other important documents, and that led to SEC penalizing the applicant. So are these findings of the SEC been complied with, and the applicant has already complied with all the necessary documents as well as settled all the penalties that were imposed?
Yes, Mr. Chair. After that hearing, the persons from the management of these four corporations actually already coordinated with our appropriate department to settle all of their penalties, Mr. Chair. So, as of this date, they are already cleared, and there are no further penalties assessed against them, Mr. Chair.
So thank you for that very clear manifestation. And congratulations to SSM for clearing all of those. Yeah. Oh. But my staff flagged me, one of the most important constitutional requirement is only Filipinos sit as directors, no? And based on the submissions of SSM, has this been complied with, SEC?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Based on their latest general information sheets, they're compliant with all the rules on foreign directors, foreign nationals sitting as board of directors, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you for that. Okay, so that's good to hear. We'll also now we'll go to DepEd. We recognize DepEd for their comments and then any any comments on the proposed measures?
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and everyone. So DepEd interposes no objection also to the House bill. The House bills recognizing the 4 Singapore schools as educational institutions of international character. In particular, we appreciate the provision in Section 4 that the schools will continue to be under the supervision and regulation of the Department of Education. This is something that we've that has been a challenge for DepEd with some of the other international schools because there was no provision as explicit as this, and so we actually have no records for some of the international schools that were created through legislation. So, thank you.
And thank you for that manifestation that you don't have any objection. So that's clearly on the record. Actually, when we enacted CCF, and the CCF law is a template for this SM proposal, I remember the DepEd explicitly recommended the insertion of Section 4. And let me just read it. Notwithstanding the recognition and prerogatives under this act, the school shall be under the supervision and regulation of the Department of Education and shall adhere to basic laws and rules and regulations of the department governing international or foreign schools. So that was an explicit provision so that schools of international character will still be under the supervision of DepEd. So I'll go to a question, basic, very fundamental question. And I want to ask DepEd because we're now requiring under the DepEd Order 88, we're now requiring schools who are planning to convert into schools of international character to get a legislative recognition. No? And this is under DepEd Order 88. And I would like to ask, what is the legal basis of that?
Actually, Senator, if I may clarify, in Section 47 of DO 88, it's 2 ways. So
Yes.
a foreign or international school may be established through legislation
Correct.
or by applying the same rules and regulations under DO 88, subject to the condition that the school is established for foreign diplomatic personnel and their dependents and for other foreign temporary residents. When we were reviewing this, we thought it was an issue of implementation, but when we went back to the DepEd order, it's unclear. So there are 2 ways essentially, but DepEd Order 88 series of 2010 has not been revised. There are efforts underway to revise this DepEd order because it's actually pre-K to 12, so it really needs to be updated. And just in January, we had a workshop on revising this, and I realized there were no international school representatives present during that workshop, but the recommendation, and that's what's currently in the draft, is to require legislation, and then schools that are currently operating with the name international or foreign in their title are going to be given 3 years or essentially 1 Congress to secure a law that will recognize them as a school of international character. But that's still a draft, Senator.
But okay, let's go to the basics first. There are 2 ways to become a school of international character. Diba? You apply for legislative recognition or you have foreign diplomatic students, correct? Diba? Those are the 2 ways. But obviously, SSM is not catering solely to foreign diplomatic students. Diba? So the only way that they will get to be recognized a school of international character is through legislation. But what is the basis of that legislation? Why all of a sudden require these schools to apply for legislation? Well, in fact, kanina I was asking them that they're already implementing the Cambridge concept, the IB concept without any legislation. So and to be formally recognized as an international school, some of the parents are now requesting the legislative recognition. But what is the legal basis of that? What is the fundamental basis on why DepEd is recommending all of these schools, not only SSM, but all of these schools to apply for legislative recognition?
Mr. Chair, I would ask for some more time to discuss this with our legal. I joined the private education office just this month also. And so we will discuss this with legal because when we were looking for a definition of an international school in laws, the only policy that we keep going back to is DO 88 actually on even the definition of what an international school is. And so this is something that we're still discussing with legal. Luckily, our legal has also assigned lawyers for the private education office to review all of these, including the manual regulations. And in that draft, international schools will be covered.
That goes to the question of and the manifestation of Congressman Tanjuatco that we really have to be strict in a way using this international school or even foreign country, the name of foreign countries, because it's creating misconceptions on the ground and maybe to a certain extent misrepresentations on the ground. The DO 38 is inadequate if you ask me in terms of regulation. That's why you have 90 plus schools with international brands in their names, but only a handful have actual legislative recognition. No, so in other words, we can see that on the ground, people are just using the word international loosely. No, so and that's creating misrepresentation on the ground.
If I may, Mr. Chair, also adding to that is we also do have private schools that are not applying to be recognized as international schools, but are offering international baccalaureate programs such as Xavier and LaSalle Green Hills, for example. So it's really, I agree, and that's why we're reviewing DO 88. It is quite inadequate, and we need to update it also with the current curriculum standards. But that's something that we are working on, and we can provide your office and this committee with updates.
It's just that it might the value or the I guess the uniqueness of the term international might lose its value if it's being used so often, especially by those not in a position to be an international school or a school of international character. So I think the chair is very correct in saying that the department order has to be revisited and maybe even revised and to be more attuned to what's happening.
Very good point that it will lose its value. Like for example, Singapore School is really implementing Singaporean curriculum. And they stand by their name and their quality. But in other areas, for example, I have the list, and I'm not belittling the other schools. To be honest, I don't have any information on their schools, but I can see here that there's so many schools here with international name, and I for example here in Muntinlupa, it's called A+ International School. I'm not sure kung they're really implementing an international curriculum or a curriculum of international design, but definitely there's so many schools here that uses the international name. Meron pa nga dito, European International School. So European ka na, international ka pa. 'Di ba? It's here in Parañaque. Again, I'm not belittling, I'm not calling them out. I'm just saying that based on this list, there's parang the value of using that international is being diminished because it's being used loosely. No?
Your Honor, if I may, I asked our MSD, Education Management Information System Division, to check, and the initial check is we have 258 schools actually using the word international and one school with the word foreign in its name. But per our records, there are only 9 international schools that have been legislated. So that's something that we're still going to validate those. Going to validate those numbers, but that's what we have. This is enrollment figures as of school year 2024-2025 as of January po.
For now, looking at this list, there's also administrative recognition, diba? So meaning the meaning DepEd can recognize these schools using the international name. But if you go to DepEd DO 88, the word international can be only used for diplomatic personnel and their dependents and for foreign temporary residents, no? So doon lang, tama? Is that correct, Director Quintana?
Yes, that's what's
So
in
that
the
meaning all
record.
these 258, they have diplomatic learners or diplomatic personnel and their dependents or foreign temporary residents. Ganun ba ang situation?
So that's what we'll have to check, Your Honor. Because it's also in section 46, it's a school established for foreign diplomatic personnel, but it also doesn't provide for. There are no provisions on how much, like what percentage should be foreign. Only that it can be allowed to cater to Filipino learners. So it's quite ambiguous, and that's something that we're already working on.
I think this really needs to be updated and scrutinized carefully. And I suggest you're right to call on the international schools so that you can update your department orders. It has been, when was this department order?
2010, Your Honor.
2010.
Yes.
Oh. And take a look also on the requirement for legislative recognition. That's fundamental. What's the legal basis for that? Why are we recommending or why are we mandating schools like SSM to come to Congress?
We will do that, Your Honor.
Oo.
Yes, Ms. Walner.
And but that will not that will not be a reason for the discussion today, but moving forward, look at the legal basis for that, no? But we will not use that argument as a discussion point for SSM right now, no? That because that's beyond them. Then okay. That's in terms of are there any requirements, for example, for the number of teachers? For example, how many foreign teachers are supposed to be working in an international school? Are there any requirements like that?
In DO 88, none,
None,
Your
wala,
Honor.
no, wala.
So actually in the revised draft, what we're saying, it's whatever is in the law that created the school is what we will follow. So at least this one is, the bills here are very clear on who can teach.
So there's no requirement to be an international school or a school of international character, except for the legislative franchise or legislative recognition, or if you have
Or to-
diplomatic personnel with their
yes, if
dependents.
the school is established for that.
Oh,
purpose.
yun dalawa lang,
Yes.
di ba? So there's no requirement for, let's say, number of foreign teachers,
No, Your Honor.
number of foreign students.
No.
There's no requirement. Okay. So
Oh, there is a requirement on it shouldn't be, let me, beyond 30, I think
30%,
30%.
yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's on the learners.
yeah. It cannot be beyond 30% of a single nationality. Yeah. And in your I heard DepEd expressing there no objection, meaning you in short you support this measure. Have you also taken a look at their constitutional requirements? Like for example, the ownership is at least 60% owned by Filipino citizen. Have you reviewed their charter just to put on record?
Yes, Your Honor. Because the Singapore schools actually have government recognition, they are already, as a private school currently, they are compliant with these, with the provisions of the requirements of DepEd Order 88, including the constitutional requirements.
So, for example, they're 60%, at least 60% owned by Filipinos. Have you checked that?
I would defer to the yes,
I'm
our
sure
regional.
SEC have taken a look at
Yes,
that. No? But
yes.
I would like to ask DepEd if, kasi you're giving your no objection. So
Yes. For the regional offices, it's the regional offices of DepEd that actually check this, Your Honor. And per the regional offices, yes,
Okay.
they are compliant.
Okay. And then 100% controlled by Filipino citizens?
For the manifestation earlier of SEC, yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Okay, not established exclusively for aliens. Have you taken a look at that?
Again, Your Honor.
But they have Filipinos, so obviously
Yes,
they're not
yes.
exclusively for aliens. Okay. But for the record, I just want to ask Ms. Atienza, what is the ownership now of the campuses?
Okay, it's 100% owned by all campuses except for Green Campus. No, Green Campus, we have a parent whose children grew up and graduated in SSM who invested. No, so she's an incorporator with a very minimal investment, but she's not a director.
All of these schools are majority owned by Filipinos. Yeah. 90% owned by Filipinos and controlled and administered by Filipino management, Filipino citizens. Can you use the microphone?
Yes, that's correct. Controlled, all directors are Filipinos. All school heads are Filipinos.
Okay. All 4 schools, no?
That is correct, Mr.
The one
Chair.
you mentioned, which one is that? The one that has
Green Campus.
Green Campus. And what's the ownership of that?
She owns very minimal. You know, she just fell in love with the school and she wanted to be part of that. But insignificant, like 3% maybe.
Okay. Conferring with my staff, no, and I want to ask DepEd, is legislation the only way to become a school of international character? Is that the only mode for them?
At least in DO88, Your Honor,
Yeah,
or
yeah, in
in
DO88
DO88 legislation, or again through complying with the regulations, but on the condition that they cater to foreign temporary residents or foreign diplomatic personnel.
And moving forward, you said that you're
Yes.
revising
In the current draft,
yeah.
Your Honor, it is legislation only. That's the
legislation, so much
only-
stricter. In
yes,
this
much
case.
stricter. And then those that
Okay.
aren't compliant will be given 3 years.
Yeah, but you cannot answer what's the legal basis of that legislation.
Yes, Your Honor. That's
So
still something that we're checking on.
Yeah, that's a very important fundamental question because we cannot impose to applicants that you need to go through Congress, but we don't know the legal basis of that.
We agree, Your Honor, and we're also looking at what will also be the basis of Congress when you evaluate if this should be.
Actually, right, that's a question I want to get answered first before we move forward. But it's unfair for SSM because they went through 4 hearings in Congress. Now they have 1 hearing here. And like I said to Congressman Tanjuatco, we have 6 session days. So I plan to really get this approved, this 19th Congress, in fairness to them. So I don't think I can wait for DepEd to answer that because I think that's a question that DepEd needs to answer on its own. No? But the applicant is applying in good faith, following DO88, because that's the instruction and that's what's laid out in the department order. So they're just following the rules. In other words, no.
Yes, Your Honor.
Yeah, but let's do this. In the next few, I'll give you 2 weeks. Kaya ba 2 weeks? Can you give us the position paper on what is the legal basis for requiring schools to become schools of international character to apply for legislative recognition? What is the legal basis for that? Can you give it to us in 2
Your
weeks?
Honor,
Break
yes.
naman kami, so we won't convene
Oh.
until June 3.
Yes, Your
So
Honor.
I'm liberal with the time because we won't convene until June 3.
Yes, Mr. Chair. We will submit a
A position paper on that question alone. On that question.
on the legal basis
On
for
the legal basis.
requiring legislation
Yeah,
to be
yeah.
recognized as an
Hopefully, I will
international
not be
event.
asked on the floor about that. No, but if I will be asked, at least I have the legal basis on that. And moving forward, that will be the basis for other schools who are planning to, for example, if you will become very strict with those 258
58,
schools,
yes,
I would assume they will all come to Congress and
Yeah.
apply with Congressman Tanjuatco, to the Senate. So we'll be deluged with applicants of schools who want to convert into an international school. No, so we want to be ready with that as well.
If I may share, Your Honor, that's something that we are also thinking about, is if we can provide some sort of criteria for our legislators, and then make it a part of the process that there's also still maybe DepEd endorsement to Congress. We're still really workshopping that, but yes, these are things that we're considering to also be able to guide our legislators on how to assess or evaluate these requests to be recognized as educational institutions of international character.
Correct. But as we speak right now, the example of Singapore School, who's operating already using Singaporean curriculum, they have accreditation from from Cambridge, or they're using the Cambridge concept and IB. There's no, in other words, there's no. The legislative mode seems to be irrelevant to their operations right now, no? Except for being formally recognized as an international school. That's where the value comes in. But then again, the question of the legal basis for that is still a question mark for me. No, for now.
That's correct, Your Honor. And we'll be submitting, the Department of Education will be submitting a position paper on that question in 2 weeks.
Okay. Congressman, any more questions? Okay, I'm also good. Again, the House of Representatives conducted 4 very exhaustive hearings, and those hearings actually yielded to positive results. They've corrected their compliance with the SEC. They have corrected their other compliances, and they've made our job much easier at this point. So with that, we are approving the 4 House bills in relation to the Singapore schools, and we will be endorsing the 4 House bills to plenary for approval. So maraming salamat and congratulations sa inyo. Congratulations. So with that, any more comments from the body, from the resource persons? Wala naman. So hearing none, we hereby adjourn this public hearing, and thank you very much for coming over. Maraming salamat.